Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Monkey and Cobb Movie Podcast. I am your host, Monkey Jones, and today I'm joined by the one, the only...
The man who would be Cobb, but isn't, E-Rich.
Yep, here he is. And today we're talking about the original Waifu Wars, the great story of Jesus versus Buddha, Spider-Man ventures into Japan, a little film I like to call... What's this called?
Kylo Ren drowns. Silence.
Spoilers, dude. the ugly guy from Girls fucking drowns.
Yeah.
This is Silence. Now, when I first saw this film, I thought it would be funny to upload an episode of this podcast called Silence, but then it would just be
nothing.
like 15 minutes of nothing.
You're a fucking faggot.
Yeah,
you know that?
I thought it'd be funny, but it's like, is it really worth the joke to not actually talk about the movie at all?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So I guess go ahead and you can lead the charge on this discussion of Silence. Probably the happiest, cheeriest film of the year. It's really a celebration of human life.
It smiles and
happiness.
rainbows, and it's just a laugh a minute, isn't it? Like
it's called Silence because the characters are so happy that they're speechless.
Yeah. One of the smartest, most rip-roaring comedies I've seen this year. Okay, so
It's
Silence
really funny when Kylo Ren fucking drowned. Oh, what a tragic character. Oh, man, I'm going to get sad talking about this, so please start us off before I start crying.
Yeah, okay. So Silence is Martin Scorsese's 3-hour-long, epic about...
One of his most ambitious projects.
Yeah, certainly. And I think he's had this in his head for quite a while. But so it's super long. It's about... Is it Spanish Catholics? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be Spaniards.
Okay. 2 Catholic priests who travel to the land of the rising sun.
The land of anime.
In a couple hundred years, they might be weeaboos, but right now they're just kind of, people who believe in Jesus Christ. But, yeah, so they really believe in what they're doing. They want to spread their religion in Japan. But the reason they're going there is because their mentor...
It's a rescue mission.
Ferreira. Yeah.
Epic action.
Yes, explosions and guns and bullets and
hiding inside mud holes, hoping that people don't come knocking on the door.
Yeah, and they oddly go to Vietnam in a helicopter for some reason. But okay. So these 2 Catholic priests are going to find their
played
mentor,
by Spider-Man and Kylo Ren.
Yeah, played by Spider-Man, Kylo Ren, and they want to get their mentor Qui-Gon Jinn,
also known as
Ra's al Ghul.
No. What's the name of
Aslan.
Spider-Man? Anthony something? Andrew Garfield?
Yeah, Andrew Garfield. What do you mean?
And what's Kylo Ren's name?
Adam Driver.
Ugly McFagface.
Yeah, Adam Driver, a.k.a. Ugly McFagface, a.k.a.
And motherfucking Liam Neeson,
Patterson.
Baby!
Yeah, and Liam Neeson, motherfucker.
And then every other character in the movie is Asian, so you can't tell who's who.
Yeah, he does not have a taken speech in this movie. He does not have a, I will find you. I will come. He does not have anything like that. But okay, so they're trying to find him. We really gotten off track trying to describe the very basic plot of this movie. So their mentor has been... he's gone to Japan trying to spread the religion of Jesus to them, but it's been brought to them that their mentor has kind of gone native. He's embraced the Japanese tradition. He's got a waifu that he is being kept with, and he has converted to their religion away. And has given up and has apostatized.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
So Andrew Garfield and Kylo Ren go to Japan to rescue him and find out what's going on and to bring him back home. Spoiler alert, they never leave Japan.
They fail.
It's fucking terrible.
If you don't want to watch a 3-hour movie
about torture and sadness, just turn off the podcast right now, because that's all you're in for is torture and sadness.
Yeah, to give you an idea of what this movie is about, we're going to have 3 hours of Japanese people screaming.
Getting tortured, hung upside down into pits where they bleed out for days at a time. strung up on
it's-
crosses for a whole week while getting blasted by the ocean waves.
Yeah, bringing in the high tide.
Now, that's pretty much the plot of the movie, is those two are in Japan trying to find Liam Neeson, and then they keep getting tortured. And then because of their mission, other people keep getting tortured and killed because of their presence and because of what they're doing. So they have the conflict, the internal and external conflict of, do I give up my faith and my mission to prevent those around me from suffering? And of course...
Yeah.
As a typical Christian would, they decide everybody else's suffering is fine. I don't want to lose my imaginary friend today.
Yeah, and there's a really cool kind of angle where priests especially are kind of avatars of Christ in a lot of ways. There's even a belief, like, I don't know if you've got any religious background, but there's some method of belief where while they are performing like certain sacraments and stuff, they literally become Jesus. Like Jesus is kind of they are a vessel through which Jesus flows. So like this crazy idea that by them being tortured and by them watching this torture, they are somehow reliving Christ's kind of sacrifice or kind of being more Christ-like is kind of like the undercurrent of this entire movie. And so Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver kind of have to ask themselves, how far can we go in watching this? We're being part of this, whether or not we believe when we apostatize, and kind of the Japanese version of apostatization or whatever is to step on this graven image of Christ. So, like, it's not a big thing to just step on this picture of Christ. It's the Japanese way of knowing that you don't believe, but you can certainly still believe and step on the thing, and then privately think, I don't really stop believing in Christ, but this is just a symbolic version of it. It's just, why can't they give that up? Why can't they just step on the fucking thing and stop these Japanese people's torture?
And my favorite character in the movie actually does step on the image of Christ like 5 times.
Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
so
the best.
I'm guessing you know who my favorite character is. It's their guide when they first go to Japan, the Japanese man who's like a washed up drunk who watched his family burn to death.
I want to say his name's like Kichijiro or something.
I have no idea.
He's great.
He's
great.
I think he got blown the fuck out with the Oscars. I think he should have got supporting actor nominations, but this movie didn't get shit.
Both that guy and the kind of main Japanese Inquisitor guy.
Yeah. And then Andrew Garfield should have been nominated for this rather than Hacksaw Ridge. What the fuck?
Yeah. He really.
This entire movie was better than that in every way.
As much as like all the American stars in this movie, you get a lot of press. I think a lot of the Japanese actors in this movie do a really good job, and like they kind of disappear into the background because it's kind of like, oh, it's the land of Japan, and then you just see these white people being kind of the stars of the movie. But the Japanese people in this movie are so fucking good.
Yeah.
And that Inquisitor guy is one of my favorites. He's got such a terrible sounding voice. Mm-hmm. He's like a creaky frog.
What's interesting about the theme that you were bringing up about apostatizing and trying to become Jesus by going through all these sacrifices and torture is that towards the end of the movie, Liam Neeson actually mocks Andrew Garfield for like, oh, what, do you think you're Jesus? And at that point I was thinking, when you go into this movie, you kind of think, oh, it's such a pro-religious movie. Oh, this is why are we watching this super Christian-y movie? I don't want to learn about how the power of faith. But the movie has a very balanced view of maybe the Christians have a point, maybe these Japanese people have a point, in that Christianity needs to fuck off and die in this land. They have like the analogy of how Japan is like really bad for agriculture, and that Christianity cannot take root in Japan. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Fuck off. This is the land of anime, not the land of fucking anime books. Bible bullshit.
You can see anime books called the Bible. Yeah, you can see very clearly why the Inquisitor guy doesn't want these Christians in his land. Like, he makes a good argument. You can see that they're kind of like inspiring these kind of lowly villagers to kind of rebel against the Japanese order. And like I don't know, any government that's in power doesn't want that stripped away. Like, you can see that this foreign religion is a danger to them.
It'd be like if in the South, a bunch of atheist people try to convert everybody to atheism, those people wouldn't stand for that shit. They'd
Hell
probably
no.
they'd probably tie those atheists up upside down and have them bleed out in a pit, like what
I
happens
don't
in
want to
this
get
movie.
I don't want to get too religious based here. The movie's a lot about religion. It's got some very deep themes in it about religion. But that's one of the things about religion that I never got, was that the entire point of so many religions is to convert as many people as possible. But to do that is to come up to somebody and say, everything you've ever known to be true is fake. And me, the person you've never met, I've got the real thing that you should follow. I never subscribed to that or understood how that could be true. And I think this movie gives you a good viewpoint on, like, wait a minute, why the fuck would we want to be Christians when you would destroy our society just because you say that's the best way? Like, I really liked this movie for kind of...
And that's the reason why Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons are the scum of the earth. Because not only are they door-to-door salesmen, which nobody likes, but they're also trying to sell you religion. Fuck off.
Like, the Jehovah's Witnesses is like, who thought that was a good idea? The going door-to-door thing of it.
I don't know.
How many people initially converted that they said, this is a good idea that we should keep doing because it works? Fuck,
I don't know.
man.
They're a menace. If only we had a Spider-Man to vanquish them. Oh, wait,
Or
we do.
Kylo
His name's
Ren
Andrew
to
Garfield, and
vanquish
he's inside a Japanese cage for an hour and a half of the film watching random Japanese people be tortured.
Okay, so can we get it? I feel like we've already spoiled it as much as we
talked about the plot and the
Can we
and the
get
acting.
into the kind of... What's that?
We've talked a lot about the plot and the acting, so we can get into other things if you want.
Yeah. So I kind of want to talk about the end of the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
So far as
I think that
this movie
the
is
twist ending was fucking dumb.
twisted. I don't think it was a twist though. I think it's kind of... So Liam Neeson tells him basically...
I mean the twist that, like,
kid.
the very final 20 seconds. That twist is what I'm talking about.
No, I know, but I think basically both Liam Neeson and Andrew Garfield remained Christians, but learned that you can't equally treat everything exactly the same. You can't go to every country and say, you're fucking Christians now, it's time to Christianize yourself and become more European. I think what Liam Neeson was kind of saying is, you have to live with this society and see that they have a different way of doing things. I kind of think Liam Neeson still retains some... Like, it's really hard to see this in the text of the movie, because there's basically nothing that he says that really makes you think that he's still Christian. But I think both him and Andrew Garfield kind of keep that, I don't know, belief in Christ through the movie. And so the end of the movie is Andrew Garfield dying.
He's like 60 years old. He spent his entire life in Japan.
Yeah, and his wife puts which was his wife, Liam Neeson's wife?
Yeah, I think when Liam Neeson dies, he got his wife, maybe.
That's a shit deal. But,
Yep.
you know.
Nah, she was young and pretty, it's fine.
You know they fucked.
Oh, of course.
Liam Neeson, he's got, Evian bottle.
That woman, because Liam Neeson got her after her old husband died, so she's had like 3 husbands just handed to her.
Man, she's used. But, yeah. So, okay, so Liam Neeson... Liam Neeson's wife, who is now Andrew Garfield's wife, puts that, cornhusk cross or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Into his hands before he's burned in that basket or whatever. So I think that the wife knows that Andrew Garfield still believed, even like, and I mean, the end section of the movie is them basically going through all of these other travelers' things and finding any signs of Christ or signs of Christian tradition, and kind of what is it called?
Getting rid of it.
Yeah, basically getting rid of it. So that they can't have it. I think even though they're doing that, even though they're kind of working for the Japanese and living in the society, they still have their beliefs, but I think it's the kind of thing where you can keep your beliefs to yourself and live in peace, coexist with others. You don't have to spread it around so much. That's kind of what I took from it, which I think is very kind of even-handed, not rah-rah Christianity type
You see, I
story.
disagree. I think it's too rah-rah Christianity. Because...
Okay.
Christianity was defeated by the Japanese in this movie, and he lived for 40 or 50 years of his life as he denounced his faith, and he spent the rest of his life dedicated to destroying the faith by using his knowledge of it. So then when he dies, and he's going through the traditional Japanese funeral, and they're burning him alive, and then we see in his hand that his wife put a little cross in it. I don't want this sign of hope at the end of a movie called Silence about torture and agonizing pain and all this terrible shit. It's too hopeful of an ending. I wanted the ending to be, they lost, he died, his life was wasted, it's over, hopelessness, fear, evil. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to fucking jerk out all of my insides and make me feel like a depressed, disgusting human being, and I wanted to cry on my drive home, but that ending ruined it by putting fucking hope into it. And I know, like, that's what makes it too religious-y for me, is that you throw in this hope where it doesn't belong.
I don't think it is too religious-y because it's not saying your religion is the best, your religion is true, your religion is what everyone else needs to get to. It's basically saying you need to be able to internally be fine with your religion and fine with being silent about it, because he looks upon all of these Japanese people who are, by all accounts, maybe more sacred seeming than him, even if they don't have all of the kind of ritual down, and they don't really, like, they don't even know the full one thing Liam Neeson kind of says is these people don't even really understand what the religion is. So they can try to teach them about it, but they're only going to see the religion through the kind of lens that they are seeing everything else through, because they're Japanese. I think the kind of meaning of this movie basically tells people, look, you should not be trying to push your shit onto other people. They might not understand it. They might not really go along with it. They might just go along with it because that's the kind of way you survive. But I think what Andrew Garfield and Liam Neeson discover is that you can go along with what everyone else is doing, the Japanese in this instance, and survive and still believe what you believe. You just shouldn't fucking advertise it.
The moral of the story is keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Just keep it to yourself. Like. You got these
fucking
your shitty opinions, you got your stupid beliefs, just keep it to yourself. We don't need to hear it. And I think that's a lesson we should all be able to learn, except for us, because people are clicking on the video so they don't want us to keep our opinions to ourselves.
Yeah,
It'd be different if you and I were barging into somebody's foreign house or foreign country and trying to force them to listen to our opinions about a movie. It's different when people are coming to us for them. Anyway, do we have anything else to say about this, or should we go into recommendations?
No, let's go into recommendations, unless you got something.
All right.
Something.
Recommending this one is hard because it's like recommending somebody get punched in the face.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to watch people suffer and be miserable and be tortured for 3 hours, then just...
Especially Japanese people.
The saddest part of the movie is when the two leads, Andrew Garfield and Kylo Ren, they get separated. And then Kylo Ren is... they capture Kylo Ren and they tell him that Andrew Garfield denounced the faith, which isn't true. And then Kylo Ren dies trying to save Christian Japanese people who are drowning, and he drowns as well. So Kylo Ren dies thinking that his partner, his friend, denounced the faith and that he's lost everything, which I thought was truly tragic. So if you want...
Monkey, there's your hopeless thing.
Yeah, it was hopeless for him. If it would have ended with Kylo Ren being miserable and drowning and all that shit, like, that's the ending I wanted. I didn't want a hopeful ending. Kylo Ren didn't get his proper Christian burial. He's probably going to hell. But if you want that kind of gut punch every 10 minutes while watching a film that also has beautiful cinematography, one of the best performances of the year, if not 2 or 3, then I'd say, yeah, check it out. Just know you're going to be miserable, and if you're like me, you love being miserable, so you might like it.
Okay, on my end, I forgot to mention this, but I might as well mention it at this point. There is no music in this movie.
That's right.
Like, you go all throughout it, and you're kind of thinking, oh, there might be like a cheerful melody here to signify that Andrew Garfield has overcome something. No, there's nothing. And basically the soundtrack is silence. It's everything around you. It's your environment. It's the people talking. And, like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie without a soundtrack. So this movie is incredibly individual. It's its own thing. It's 3 hours long. If you cannot stand long movies, don't see this movie.
No.
Simple as that.
Even the opening, instead of music, they just had like cicadas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The longer I thought about this movie, the more I liked it. In the theater while I was watching it, I was kind of getting bored at some points. It was kind of like, okay, well, we've seen these Japanese people get tortured several times.
There's 18 different scenes of them being told to stand on Jesus's picture. There's 18 different scenes of that, and it plays out the same way every time.
Mm-hmm. But it's the characters like Kichijiro or whatever the fuck his name was, repeatedly doing the things that a Christian shouldn't do, but always coming back to try to get forgiveness and stuff. It's characters like that. It's seeing Liam Neeson finally be reunited with Andrew Garfield and kind of what he has to say. And I really need to. I kind of want to see this movie again, as much as it's this like kind of long slogging thing that is very religious and torturous. Like, I kind of want to see it again, because when he finally got to Liam Neeson, I kind of had to stir myself out of my reverie and be like, oh, it's time to really listen to what this guy has to say. Mm-hmm. But I think what this movie has to say is very important. I think there's a lot to read into it. I think there's a lot of religious implications about it. And I think some people will accuse this movie of being super religious and being super into this Christian persecution thing, which there certainly is a shitload of Christian persecution in this. But I think the ultimate message of this is much deeper than just, it really sucks to be a Christian. We should kill these heathens because they're awful. So I'd say this movie is definitely worth watching, but only if you want to sit through something that's a long slog that has to do with a lot of religious themes and morals. But like, the performances are great, the direction's great, cinematography is great. This is an overall incredible movie. It's just not for everyone. I think that this movie's standing will go up as more people kind of live with it and see what it has to say. I think it'll be one of Scorsese's best eventually, but right now it's kind of hard to see when it's such a slog.
I think we can both agree that this movie, it's a crime that it wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
Absolutely.
Furthermore, was it nominated for anything other than cinematography?
Nope, nothing. It got one nomination.
Like, it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, and I feel like it should be a contender to win Best Picture. I think overall, it's probably the top two. Not my top two favorite movies of the year, but the top two movies that I think should win Best Picture of the year.
Mm-hmm. Give me every La La Land nomination that there was, except for Best Original Song and Best Female Performance, and I would put Silence gladly there instead of La La Land.
All right, now that we can put Silence to bed, maybe we can get to some more Twitter questions. We got more Twitter questions today. Here's one from Intrepid Feline. If you had to write a movie for Michael Bay to direct, what would the premise be? And I think I have an answer that I'm pretty happy with.
Okay. Go ahead and share yours.
Okay, I'll go first. My favorite Michael Bay movie is one of my favorite movies. I'm not going to throw it in the top 10 because it's not quite that high, but I really love this movie. Do you want to guess what it would be?
It's not a Michael Bay movie, or it is?
No, it is. It is my favorite
Pain and
Michael
Gain?
Bay movie. Yeah, you fucking know me, man.
Fuck yes!
You fucking know me. Hell
Fuck
yeah,
yes.
Mark Wahlberg, The Rock, some other guy. I think, is it the black guy from the Marvel
it's the
movies? I don't
Falcon.
fucking know.
Yeah, it's the Falcon. Anthony Mackie.
Oh, it's Falcon. Oh man. So it's a dark comedy that is very much based on a true story about three Don't make that sound. There's a subtitle in the middle of the movie that says this is still based on a true story, which is the most glorious thing I've seen in a subtitle. But it's a story of these three bodybuilders. And it's a dark comedy through and through. One of the darkest comedies I've seen in a major release. And they kidnap Monk from the TV show Monk so that they can get some money. And it's glorious, and So my premise would be, I want Michael Bay to adapt more stories of true crime and to make them not low budget, but smaller than his Transformer budgets. kind of Pain and Gain style dark comedies about true crime, because I fucking love Pain and Gain. The Rock is so great. Mark Wahlberg is hilarious. So that's my answer. What would you say?
I mean, I just really want to, real quick, touch on Pain and Gain here. Pain and Gain was the movie that I watched and realized, oh damn, Michael Bay is actually a good director who understands what his kind of shtick is when he's got characters and got situations that really fit in with his style. And just seeing that movie, I was just like, oh, I understand Michael Bay now. This is great.
Yeah.
So, if I had to choose a project for Michael Bay, I would say maybe The War of Independence. It's just seeing George Washington in slow motion flip over something, and I don't know, maybe whoever...
Throw a Transformer in there.
Maybe the woman who sews the flag is like wearing a flag bikini or something. I think the more ridiculous you go with
Fancy
that, the
Ross
better.
is sewing together the first American bikini.
Yes. I just think that you make that as ridiculous as possible and as anachronistic as possible. That sounds pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But although, like, I think maybe you'd really have to have the military involved in some way. He loves the military so much. And they love
I think
him.
it should end with George Washington, like they just won the war and he's settling down into, I guess, whatever the first White House was, if they had that back with George Washington, whatever the capital was.
They had a presidential palace.
Yeah, sure. And George Washington sits down and he puts his legs up on the desk and he says, "It's time to make America great again." And then smash cut to credits.
Nice. Yeah. Directed by Michael Bay. Linkin Park song plays.
Yeah, and then during the credits include images of like Hillary Clinton crying and shit, and it'd be perfect.
Nice.
So yeah, there you go. What was your name? Intrepid Feline. There's your last episode we had Dog Violator. This episode we have Intrepid Feline. Lots of dog and cats shit going on. Mm-hmm. So do we have any other questions? Okay, here's one from Zombie Ninja Cow. What do you think matters most in film? Cinematography, dialogue, plot, characters, etc. And what matters the least? Now, I think you had an answer for this one.
Yeah, I definitely have an answer for least. The thing that matters the least is the plot. The movie John Wick, which the sequel is now recently coming out. The movie John Wick has very little plot. It's just basically John Wick killing people. That's one of the best fucking movies released in the past 10 years.
Just like The Raid.
Doesn't really matter. What's that?
The Raid has almost no plot. That's one of the best action movies ever.
Yeah. So I think kind of if you have good action choreography in a movie, like that's actually good, I think actually editing is one of the most important things because especially in tandem with action, if you've got action that is constantly cut up, they're constantly going to different viewpoints, or you don't really have the ability to cover good choreography, the movie is going to be shit. It's not going to be good action. If you have good action in a movie, I can forgive a whole lot about the movie because you are showing me people who are very talented doing something very well.
My favorite thing about movies is probably characters. I'll agree with you on the plot thing. Because a movie like Manchester by the Sea, which is my favorite film from last year, that movie
doesn't have a whole lot of plot.
Razor thin plot. It's all about the characters, baby. All about the characters, which I guess it kind of contradicts my opinion on Moonlight, where my problem was that
very about a character.
Yeah, the last third was too focused on character, but I explained myself last time. But man, if you just take like a play script and you just record it, and it's just people talking in a room, like 12 Angry Men, it's just people talking in a room pretty much the whole time.
Yep.
I don't care. So I'd say the least important thing is cinematography. Personally, I don't need every frame to look like a portrait. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me if a movie looks ugly. I'm more invested in the characters and how they grow and that kind of shit.
I'd say for me, cinematography isn't the most important thing or something, but it's like a modifier that makes me really appreciate a movie much more. Like, I think I loved Skyfall more than most other James Bond movies because it looked beautiful. It was an amazing looking movie. Roger Deakins did the cinematography. He's a great cinematographer. So, like, I'm really looking at who the cinematography is. A movie like Inside Llewyn Davis has cinematography by Bruno Del Bonell, and he's a really good cinematographer who uses a lot of monochromatic kind of shades.
Yeah, I'll agree that it can make a film much better and more enjoyable to watch. But I guess I don't care about it as much because I'm more into, I guess, plays and scripts and that kind of shit. But yeah, I mean, something like Ron.
You need that
my
main kind
favorite
of core of the movie. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite Kurosawa film, Ron, like that has every shot is fucking beautiful. But I'm more invested in the characters in that movie and the hijinks that they're up to. But that's our answers to those, I guess. Did you have anything more on that subject?
No, I'll just mention real quick. The movie Transcendence is terrible, and that was made by a cinematographer, Danny Pfister. Danny Pfister
is that the Johnny Depp goes into a computer movie?
Yes, it is. It is. So Danny Pfister, or whatever the fuck his name is, was Christopher Nolan's cinematographer.
Oh, shit.
And he struck out on his own and directed that movie Transcendence, and it was awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, well, there you go. I guess that wraps up episode 6. This is probably not as good as 15 minutes of silence, but I guess this is the less memey version of this video. Thanks for joining us. Maybe next time we'll stop talking about Oscar bait shit, and maybe we'll talk about, I guess, you know what I want to see that's coming out soon?
What's that?
Is A Cure for Wellness. I'm really excited about that one.
That looks good.
And maybe we'll go see Lego Batman
back
or something.
out of director's jail.
Yeah.
Lego Batman.
Okay, for Mumkey and Cobb's movie podcast, I've been Mumkey.
And I've been E-Rich.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, folks.